Is he sirs? He ain't sirs. He ain't sirs.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Here we go again.
When is enough going to be enough? Yet another example of a black man degrading a black woman has gone viral, and, like clockwork, the overwhelming majority of black commentators are siding with him and commending him for keeping it real. In fact, the incident has actually served to earn him more subscribers rather than the opposite. The gist of the video involves the black male host telling a business-owning, six-figure earning, physically fit black woman that her dreams of getting a man who also earns six figures is completely unrealistic because she's in her mid-30s, has a teenage son, and according to him, her face is average at best. I'm not going to analyze the video because other YouTubers have already done so and really said all that needs to be said. Instead, I'm looking at this issue as a piece of a much bigger puzzle related to black women's social standing, their depictions in the media, and the general issue of promoting hypogamy to women. It's very clear that there is an agenda to negate black women's self-esteem and keep them at the bottom of society's totem pole. This video is going to be the first of many in a series I'm calling Black Love in Film. Understand that my goal here is not to mock or disparage the black community. I created this channel to be a space for spiritual authenticity and honest dialogue. In the words of Professor Ralph Richard Banks, very loosely quoted, "The black community is a microcosm of society at large." While the issues in the black community are not exclusive to black people, they are often normalized and tolerated at an alarmingly high rate, to the point that they've become ingrained into the culture. With these aspects of black culture becoming more and more mainstream, it's past time that they were addressed. These issues are worth studying and delving into to get to the root of these generational curses so that we can finally break them. As I said in my first video, Nurturing Feminine Spirituality, my channel focuses on the media's role in shaping our lives and affecting our feminine confidence and identity. Paying attention to modes of black entertainment and marketing, black love apparently translates to a black woman setting herself up for a life of unhappiness and abuse, while for a black man, it means he gains access to a woman he wouldn't otherwise have access to, because she has made the destructive decision to lower the bar. Looking specifically at film and television, the issue with black romantic comedies and dramas is that they are often romanticizing dysfunction and role reversal, giving the impression that these relationships will lead to happy endings. The reality is, these dynamics ignore human biology and millennia of evolution. Disregarding Mother Nature always creates avoidable issues. Now, I know that there are going to be some people that will view these criticisms as divisive and part of an alleged agenda against black love. If their idea of black love is the same nonsense that's been glorified in the media for generations, they'd be right. Since I am a cognizant, critical thinker who understands what propaganda is, it would be a fallacy for me to claim that black love depictions in the media are indeed positive, productive examples of healthy, balanced relationships. At the same time, do I believe that these depictions are pulled out of the rear end of the big bad white boogeyman? Absolutely not. The truth of the matter is that while life imitates art, art also imitates life. As artists, many of us, if not all of us, create work based on the things that we actually see and experience in real life. Considering that so many of these depictions of black love are in fact made by black filmmakers, and these movies are popular in the black community, I can't help but be concerned that these relationship dynamics, number one, exist, and number two, are largely being celebrated as an ideal to strive towards. It seems to me that the real agenda is the normalization of this toxicity. I could do a whole dissertation of misogynoir and Tyler Perry's career, but for now, I'm going to focus on his movie series, Why Did I Get Married 1 and 2. It's interesting to me that both of these movies were so popular, considering Black Americans are the least likely to be married compared to other demographics. This won't be like my last video on Midsummer, where I do a linear play-by-play review of the movie's plot. Instead, I'm going to focus more on the characters' individual characterizations and compare those to the real world. I will say that I will also be breaking this one up into 2 videos. Now let's get into part 1. These movies center around a group of best friends going on a therapeutic retreat to strengthen their marriages, and that is just the first of many lies these movies are telling. First of all, there is nothing therapeutic about these retreats. This is just a toxic friend group going on vacation. All they do is complain and commiserate about each other's spouses, laugh at the trash talk as they wait for their turn to say their lines, eventually culminating in some confrontation that builds dramatic tension. The worst thing about this group is how they all enable each other. Nobody, not even the licensed psychologist, gives any real advice about the relationships. It's always, well, y'all are supposed to fight. Y'all just gotta work through it. Stick it out. Pray about it. Yes, people go through things in their relationships, but if you have a friend, or in this case, friend group, that is just about always complaining about their spouse, but literally never doing anything different, you need to reevaluate your friends. Their bad luck, negativity, whatever you want to call it, will end up rubbing off on you. When we look at the dynamics of the characters' relationships, it's clear to me that the attitude demonstrated is hypergamy and leveling up equals bad, while hypogamy and acquiescing no matter what equals good. For Pat, Angela, and Diane, they're each subliminally masculinized based off the way the movie spotlights their careers over their husbands. Patricia is a best-selling author, Diane is a high-level attorney, and Angela owns her own hair care line and salon. Sheila is apparently a housewife since the job is never mentioned until she divorces her husband, and she's framed as the most miserable out of all the women. With the only housewife also being the only plus-size woman, I also feel that this is a dig to the traditional stay-at-home wife, since plus-sized women are not exactly high on the totem pole in the real world, especially plus-sized black women.
Something to beat. That's what I like. Something that'll uplift me. That make me want to drive off this bridge.
Sheila is the only plus-size woman on the cast, and is the one with the lowest of low self-esteem, at least in the first movie. She offers very self-deprecating comments of herself, despite being a genuinely beautiful and kind woman, and unfortunately doesn't treat or believe herself to be the prize. Honestly, none of the main characters do, but we'll get into that. She is under the impression that because Mike is apparently a high-value man, she is lucky to have him. Now, high value is not to be confused with high quality. In this context, high value equals deep pockets. She has taken on the entire burden of making the relationship work, despite the fact that Mike literally does not care and is very obvious with his disinterest.
Mike is not so bad. I just need to lose some weight and it'll get better for us.
Wrong.
While losing weight would increase her stock value in the dating world, losing weight only means so much if she doesn't address her reasonings for having packed on so much weight in the first place. Even still, changing her appearance will not change the mind of a man who devalues her. If he had it in him to love her properly and treat her with respect, then he would already be doing so. regardless to her weight. He married her, for goodness sake. Being nice to her is the absolute least he can do. Her happy ending involves her getting validation and higher self-esteem solely based on her proximity to another man. What should have happened was her crying and remothering herself, maybe taking up yoga and or therapy so that she can learn to love herself and then attracting a love interest. Her testament in the bathroom has her gushing about how this man gives her so much validation and praising God for sending her a good man. A picture that is just so toxic. Speaking of faith in white Jesus, let's talk about praying for your relationship issues to be resolved. The issue with the Black movie's relationship with Christianity is that all the power is put on the big man in the sky, but no credit is given to the character's own agency. Being that depictions of God/Jesus have largely been that of a white man, this cliche is a disguised version of the white savior trope, making the message repeated in film a very covert dog whistle of white superiority, effectively leading to a subconscious insecurity and internalized inferiority for the Black audience. That's another topic though. In these movies, it's implied you don't have to do anything. You just have to make a wish to Sky Daddy and then poof, all your problems will be solved. While miracles absolutely do happen, what should be discussed is how we actually have the power to change our lives. And oftentimes, when we find ourselves in a cycle of despondency, it's because the universe, aka God, is sending signals that we need to change something in our lives. Remember that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Sheila's characterization as a good Christian woman is the only justification for her happy ending. What the movie should have shown us was Sheila doing her shadow work to find out why she didn't have the courage to leave Mike the first time he disrespected her, which, according to the second film, was at least a decade prior to their divorce, followed by building up her self-esteem so that she'd have the feminine confidence to manifest the life and man she actually wanted by, number 1, establishing healthy boundaries, and most importantly, number 2, being clear about what she does want, which should have also included new friends.
I walk around here trying to act like perfect Patty. You know, well, perfect Patty messed up, okay? I'm not strong enough to deal with this.
Tricia is the full embodiment of the archetypical strong Black woman. A superwoman who is always ready to take on someone else's burden while she neglects the little girl inside. Her friends literally dote on her, and it appears like it's just friendly advice she's giving, but what they're really doing is taking advantage of her by having quickie therapy sessions for the price of free $99. First of all, if you love your girlfriends, then you should be willing to help out their business by paying full price. Second of all, it is blatantly unfair to use someone as a crutch for advice. What these women need is actual individual and couples therapy to solve their problems. Her solutions for them are always, oh, remember the good times? Do this exercise so you can remember the good times. When she should be saying, hey, you guys are clearly unhappy. Maybe it's time to move on. Sure, divorce sucks, but I can guarantee spending the rest of your life with someone you obviously don't really want to be with sucks way more. It was really displeasing for me to see her urging the other couples to kiss and make up at the end of the second movie, just because she had to deal with the roller coaster of being angry at her almost ex-husband and then having to mourn his life. Her characterization devolving into the gross caricature of the unhinged, crazy black woman over the course of the movies was disappointing yet unsurprising to see.
Stop, Miss Thing. Gorgeous, you are glowing. I have to work, Terry. Since I made partner, he's been so different. All he talks about is having a son.
My little baby doing?
I find Diane's character to be written in alignment with two different negative, masculinizing black female stereotypes. In the first movie, she's operating in her masculine as evidence of her full-time work status and what she actually does for a living, a high-level employee at a law firm. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with her working, but her unwillingness to submit to Terry masculinizes her and plays into the black woman who don't need no man stereotype. I do actually think that this is a good issue to delve into because in this day and age, there are actually a lot of women who struggle with turning off their masculine energy. But neither movie illuminates the issues this causes for women in the long run when it comes to our social currency, nor the emotional/spiritual toll we pay. Instead, the focus is on how this affects her husband and how his needs aren't being met. In the second movie, her character has become a variation of the Jezebel stereotype, a sexually promiscuous black woman, in that she is now inexplicably cheating on Terry. Well, she's involved in an emotional affair, but the movie still kind of alludes to a sexual promiscuity with, number one, their confrontation being brought about by Terry bringing up how she's wearing provocative lingerie to work, and then two, when Diane admits that she had once fantasized about her work husband while being intimate with Terry. Out of all the characters, she is the most underdeveloped, which is a shame because I'm most interested in her story. With the issues she faces in her marriage and the way she acts out, it seems obvious to me that she is unhappy and possibly even desires to be unmarried. So I'd love to know why she got married to Terry in the first place and where it went wrong. But unfortunately, Tyler Perry isn't interested in detailing that. Diane is the bad guy. That's all we need to know.
Trina. That's Troy. I talked about you all last night. Girl, he is single. Is that so? Great. I'm not worried about snowboarding. I want a shot.
Cook, don't clean. She burning up my man. All right. Woo, quality.
The character of Trina is someone feminine women everywhere need to watch out for, and it's not just because she's an absolute snake of a friend. While she physically appears very feminine with her appearance and hypogamous tendencies, her vocabulary and actions all indicate that she is a male-identified, pick-me, anti-feminine type of woman. For example, rather than being in the kitchen making breakfast with the rest of the women, she decided to go on a hike with all of the men, giving the subliminal connotation that she is more comfortable around men. She snake disses all the women, but directly targets Angela with her commenting, "Now you belong in the kitchen," implying that she herself is too good to be concerned with domesticities. I also feel that she is comfortable doing this because Angela is a dark-skinned woman. Within the collective society, but especially the black community, dark-skinned women are at the bottom of the totem pole, making them easy targets. Also, Angela's husband is the weakest man there. The odds of him defending his wife are slim to none. Then also notice how she encourages Angela to assault her, enticing a fight. Dear women, please hear me when I say you are doing yourself a huge disservice when you demonstrate this type of aggression. I'm not talking about taking a Krav Maga class for self-defense. I'm referring to antagonizing and encouraging a hostile situation, or even taking the bait of someone else. Taking this opportunity to play devil's advocate, I am also feeling like Trina was framed as the villainess, specifically because of her hypergamous tendencies. Mike later complains about her not cooking or cleaning, and honestly, why the hell would she? They aren't married, and I definitely don't think Trina is dumb enough to believe Mike to be husband material. Sis is all about her bag. She knows Mike is with her for her looks, so that is all she is focused on. She's upkeeping her end of the bargain, so long as he is upkeeping his. This then makes me feel that her hesitancy in preparing food for these men is also in part due to her feminine wiring that knows that these men aren't deserving of domestic service. I do still find her to be a pick-me though, because number one, she's entertaining Mike of all people, and two, she doesn't seem to mind the attention she gets from the rest of the men. Also, in recognizing Angela's character for the malignant narcissist she is, I feel that her animosity towards Trina comes less out of concern for Sheila and more out of jealousy towards an outwardly feminine woman being treated as the prize.
The ghetto! I will mop the floor with your behind. The ghetto! The ghetto!
It is not lost on me that the darkest woman in the cast is also the most aggressive and masculine, on top of being an alcoholic. Tyler Perry, being a black man who allegedly cares about the black community, should know how damaging it is to have any black woman, but especially a dark-skinned one, depicted in this humorous manner. However, his movies are largely modern-day minstrel shows that have utilized colorist tropes plenty of times, pertaining to men as well as women, so I'm really not surprised. As detestable as I find her character to be, I do find some justification for why she acts the way she does.
Come on, Angela, I have a job.
Marcus, you work for me. If I didn't own that salon, you wouldn't have nothing.
And you wasn't saying that when I was playing pro ball before I got hurt.
Okay, 2 years of pro ball, 8 years of broke. Touchdown!
It is impossible and improbable for a feminine woman to submit to an effeminate man, even more so when it comes to a masculine woman such as Angela. This is where her resentment and disdain for Marcus comes in. It's definitely unacceptable and uncouth for her to verbally emasculate him, but the disrespect and resentment is the voice of her intuitional instincts crying out in pain due to years of neglect. If a man wants a feminine, soft, demure, beautiful woman, then he needs to step up to the plate and cultivate a safe environment to allow her femininity to flourish. It is also up to women to have the courage and initiative to leave the men who are unable or unwilling to do so. No one forced Angela to stay married to Marcus. She literally doesn't have to. Also take into account that he has baby mama drama, apparently doesn't defend Angela's honor and position as his wife to that baby mama. It just doesn't make any sense for Angela to remain in the relationship. Unlike the rest of the women, her relationship is entirely hypogamous, meaning her spouse is of a lower economic status than herself, at least until the second movie. Her husband was a pro baller at one point, so her relationship might have started off hypergamous, but that does not explain why her husband allowed her to be the breadwinner and provider in their relationship for over 8 years. Then when he gets a job by the second movie, Angela, of course, doesn't want him to forget who held him down for nearly a decade and is totally insecure that Marcus's prospective dating options have opened up. To be honest, she's justifiably insecure. It would not be hard for him to find a nicer woman, if he only wanted a nice woman. Remember, ladies, men, by and large, tend to be as loyal as their options and will only treat you as the prize when they know you have options. It is imperative you don't date and especially don't provide for men who are down on their luck. What just about always ends up happening is he'll settle with you, Miss Barbara Build-A-Man, until his repressed masculinity decides to kick in and cause him to level up, then using his newly established pockets to impress the woman he actually wants. In the real world, an emasculated man in Marcus's situation would be cheating left and right to reclaim his masculinity, unless he was effeminate at heart. I specify an effeminate man because a masculine one would have never allowed her to become the provider in the first place, nor would he submit to this boisterous emasculation. She continuously emasculates him into the second movie, even though he now has a job, because, number one, it is by force of habit. She's been operating in her masculine energy for years, and number two, she's unwilling to let go of it. Not only that, but watching her verbally abuse her husband is just cringy, and it's a shame that it's framed as humorous. I don't care how good of a friend you think she is. No sane person has any business associating with a woman who behaves like Angela. She is disrespectfully uncouth and exudes malefic energy. If she really cared about Sheila, then she would have pulled her to the side and had a private conversation to notify her of her husband's adultery. But instead, she throws a bunch of passive-aggressive shots at Mike and then blurts it out at the dinner table. Totally uncouth. But you know what they say, misery loves company. Funny enough, I've actually known someone who was in a similar situation. Not similar in terms of the emasculating wife, but similar in that he was a professional athlete overseas when he married her, earning 6 figures a year, but for one reason or another, he ended up having to start from scratch to establish himself, leaving his woman to be the primary breadwinner. She ended up divorcing him, and he seemed so disheartened that she was unwilling to, quote, hold him down. He viewed the early stages of their relationship as doing her a favor. He felt that because he had been paying all of the bills, she should be willing and eager to hold down the fort while he starts anew, despite the fact that he proposed to her. I, not knowing any better at this time, and still being an undiagnosed pick-me, sympathized with him, and generally felt that his ex-wife was wrong. Since you've been listening this far, it should be clear I don't hold that same opinion today. I say all this to say that a man being hypogamous and a woman being hypogamous are two very different situations. Quiet as it's kept, there is actually a method to the supposed madness of gender roles. A method that actually propagates a beautiful balance when done correctly. The truth is that men are at their best when they are providing, while women are at their best when they are being provided for. This goes back to yin and yang energy. The job of the masculine giving yang is to provide for the receptive feminine yin. This is what is referenced in the phrases, give a woman a house and she will turn it into a home, and happy wife, happy life. Don't get me wrong, a woman's duty is not being barefoot and pregnant, chained up in the kitchen. My sentiment is that women in relationships with men, particularly and especially those married, should be working because they want to, not because they have to. And while I do believe women should have money of their own, their men should not be concerned with those funds. If they are together and the man wants to wear the pants and have the title of man of the house, then he needs to demonstrate that he is a provider and handle the bills. The only successful 50-50 mate situation is a roommate, and that's only when the relationship is strictly platonic. If you are giving it up to your man and he's not a provider, you're doing too much. And I'm speaking from experience. Not to mention, referring to those relationships as 50-50 is a huge misnomer. There is no way a woman can healthily take on the role of provider and still upkeep the home, as well as upkeep herself, and God forbid she has children. Take the differences in our physicalities into account. Men are larger, stronger, and typically shaped more angularly, while women are softer, curvy, and socialized to enhance our beauty. The actual 50-50 is already ingrained into our biology. We each have our role, and it is when we fill that role properly that the 50-50 balance is actually achieved. Men and women have equal value, but we are not literally equal. We are different, and it's okay. It's how we're made. Remember to rate the video, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe so that you'll be updated when I release part 2. Thanks so much for being here, and I will be looking forward to our next reunion.